That's my old profile photo, all right? This is my new one. I've been 3 days in USA, and I already got the full merch package on Twitter. So if you go and follow me on Twitter, my timeline is going to be weird for next week, but then we're going back to normal European schedule, don't worry. So I visited some of your museums. I love it here. These were some of my favorite things that I've done. I enjoy like exploring your culture, like doing all the cultural enrichment, and yeah. Round of torture for myself. Who knows me from Twitter? All right, that's more than I thought. Who is using Sizzy? It's usually like one person in the back. Usually the janitor doesn't even listen to what I'm saying. One of the things that I'm working, I have ADHD, so I'm working on a billion things at once. This is one of the things. It's a browser specifically made for developers, not made to replace your browser for browsing, but it's just like a tool like Photoshop that's like helping you in a lot of ways to do front-end development. Another thing I'm working on, the test flight is almost live. I'm making a life OS which combines like all the things in your life from medication, habits, to-dos, planner, blah, blah, blah. This is like a full stack thing that I'm working on. It's currently on sale. It's called Zero to Ship. And the last thing that I'm reviving, it's called Glink, which is like changelogs, roadmap, a billion other things. So without overwhelming you more about my bio and stuff, I really hope I'll get invited next year because I love it here for reasons like networking and meeting people and teaching. It's great, but you're laughing, right? But let's just discuss why are you here, right? You're here for learning, and you're here for like networking, and later, after this, you're definitely going to improve all of your skills later. All right, so what can you expect from my conference talks? If you haven't listened to any of my conference talks, usually, this was made by AI, so it's completely wrong, so it's like 50% tweets, and 40% pain, and 30% reason to remember the name. So in 2017, I did this talk with the longest name ever. It's called Navigating the Hype-Driven Front-End Development World Without Going Insane. And I've been talking about like how to navigate the front-end world then. Now it's even crazier, but we need to recap like all the things that happened since 2017. I don't see my speaker's notes, which is bad, but we'll try to get by. So in other industries, like in the Vision Pro, you have like cloth collision on top of real life objects and whatever crazy stuff is happening here. In here, we have like some slicing of a mesh texture going around the ball and blah, blah, blah. Whatever, these waterfalls and like all of this mesh, like you can take a rock and just smush it into another rock and it magically kind of like blends itself and it forms this structure and it's freaking crazy. Here we can drag our mouse and just create buildings and streets and taxi cars spawn out of nowhere like we do generative, whatever the hell this is. And honey goo thingy coming on a cube and like, you know where this is going, right? I'm building up to where it's going, but because you have respect for your profession and you love your LinkedIn title, whatever it is, you're like the CEO, architect of dreams, blah, 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 you're gonna try your best not to laugh, but you're gonna laugh at the next slide because this is what happened in front-end development. It's been almost 10 years and this is where we're at. There's a warning saying that maybe you'll be able to style a select in 2037. This is still alive. It's a freaking miracle. This is still alive. It's thriving, actually. 15 million downloads. I set up like a calendar event to check if it's dead every year. It hasn't been dead yet, so I'm going to keep checking. CLIs, not only that they're not dead, they're actually thriving. You can drop images. First time I dropped an image in my terminal, I'm like, how the heck? Oh, never mind. Like, it's too... I added another calendar event. At this point, I have more events for this than anniversaries and birthdays and stuff, so I hope one day it's going to die as a concept. We're struggling with the same old pains. Soon in maybe some browsers, you won't need JavaScript to style a popover in a dialog. Can I have like a round of applause for that? Stop clapping because people have brain implants, all right? It doesn't matter if you can style a dialog. We cannot get rid of Internet Explorer. We just updated the logo. It's still there. It's still painful, and yeah. We cannot agree on a way to increase a counter. This is a demo from Ryan Florence. This is remix version 2, the version 3, the remix of the version 4. Whatever they're doing, it's a counter. How complex is it to increase a counter? It's incredible. And don't shoot the messenger here, but the number one library, it's still the same. It's annoying, but React is the best, and blah, blah, blah. So let's talk about LLMs. LLMs are amazing at writing React. And this is funny only to us humans, right? To an LLM, this is like perfectly written code. It's only a human wish to abstract the shit out of this, right? So when we see this, you get this urge, you want to get on stage right now, and you're like, oh, let me just change that. I'll make it more optimal. So here are some scientific brain scans. This is our brain on cocaine. This is our brain on sugar. This is our brain when it realizes we can abstract something. You're like, oh, let's go. It's useless to the user, but we freaking love it. So coding with LLMs makes this kind of better and worse, like especially with Composer 1, for me it's like way worse, because you can get to the right abstraction quicker, but you can also get to the wrong abstraction quicker. And the best thing here is LLMs don't care about repetitive code, and I've been seeing this since 2017, that we care too much about repetitive code and we abstract too early. So I'm going to repeat this a couple of times, and I love that LLMs don't care about repetitive code. So LLMs are also good at writing React because no one is actually good at writing React. You go to a React conference, every conference that I went to, like, you just listen to the first talk and you're like, holy shit, it can do that? I was using it all wrong. So everyone is just inventing their own ways of doing React. So when we say like, yeah, but you cannot do the optimal use effect, blah, blah, and the machines cannot write the proper, can you write a proper use effect? No, you can't. So we should stop blaming the machines. So let's talk about this. I think this is the very wrongest audience for my talk here, because I've been giving this talk at conferences where people are like at least 50-50, hate vibe coding and love vibe coding. So I hope it will work here. So raise your hand if you think that vibe coding rocks. Okay, that's way too many hands. You should see this in another city, just 2 people, and everyone else is grumpy. So raise your hand if you think that vibe coding sucks. Please, couple of hands. Hell yeah, all right. So I'm here to convince the rest of the group, and hopefully people watching in the live stream, there's way more skeptical people. You have no, if you just landed on Earth maybe, and you don't know what vibe coding is, okay, 0 people here, so yeah. All right, all of you are right, because we're kind of vibing the definition of what vibe coding is, and since the word was mentioned, we kind of expanded it to mean like everything and anything. So the term vibe coding was coined by Andre Carpati. You probably know this. He's the reason that idiots sleep in the back of their cars and film TikToks. So he wrote this long essay on what is vibe coding, but the long story short is like, you don't care that much about the code, you press accept, and you just tell the LLM to do what it needs to do and blah, blah, blah. Now, this is a slide from my talk in 2017, before LLMs or anything was mentioned, when I said that if you see the pattern of where front-end development is going, one day is going to be like everyone is working on things that are so similar that one day you'll be able to be like, hey, just give me new styles for the header, or move this 3 pixels to the right. And people were laughing, they're like, no, it's not going to get there, and literally this is what we're doing with cursor and everything else, right? I'm too lazy to go into Tailwind and just move it by 3 pixels. So I'm a time traveler. Managers have been vibe coding forever, so this is nothing new. So they tell a developer to implement a new feature. The developer makes changes to the code. The manager then tests the app. The manager does not read the code. Well, actually, I'm going to drink water here, and you can just read the rest of this slide. This last one depends on whether you're like in the Balkan area or you're at a place which has HR, so they might insult you or not insult you. So this is what managers have been doing forever, basically. There's so many jokes about vibe coding being bad. My favorite one is a comparison to a casino. So in casino you buy chips, here you buy tokens. You spin the slots, you press generate. You might hit the jackpot or nothing. You get a functional full stack app or garbage. Flashing lights, seductive animation. You're absolutely right. Great idea. I've got my own strategy. I'm a prompt engineer, all right, sure. One more spin, I'll win it all back. One more prompt and the bug will disappear. Casino, it kind of hurts this comparison. It's very true. Cursor is always in profit. I hit the jackpot. I built Assassin one day. And where did the last 4 hours go? And just writing prompts for something you could have done manually in 15 minutes. So Andre was trying to coin way too many terms. It didn't work. After the first time, he tried to coin this one about half coding, which is like kind of you're observing what the LLM does. And I am not half coding and I'm not vibe coding. I love this term that somebody coined on Twitter, and I'm going to start using that one. It's called vibe engineering, when you're actually using agents to code all the time. Like you don't touch the code, but you just look in your screen like, I'm going to catch you. You look like the Dexter meme. You're like, something's fishy here. Why? So I've vibe engineered over 15. I wouldn't even bother with half of these things if it wasn't for LLM and agentic coding. But I'm always suspicious of the code because it was based on our code and it's based on our knowledge. So proof. This is Gemini just going on a rant that I'm not worthy anymore, I'm not a good assistant, I should stop coding, blah, blah, blah. That's superhuman. This is Quen saying that it lied because it read on a forum that we double down when we're wrong and we're lying. So we kind of trained them in a way to be like us, and they're like, oh, the code that they do is bad. And if you like your production data, definitely, you should this is a real screenshot, sadly. Oopsie daisy, there goes your production data. So I have Dr. Senior Principal Prompt Engineer Kitze here for some vibe engineering tips. The obvious advice, probably, I haven't listened to the rest of the talks because I just arrived. These are very live, laugh, love, like obvious bullshit advice, but it actually works. I've heard of the term Git workspaces like literally 2 weeks ago. I had no idea what is this, but it's amazing. And you gotta be chronically on Twitter for all of this to work. So if you don't have a Twitter account, it's not gonna work. You gotta have a solid starting point, whether that means like good primitives or components components, functions, pattern, abstractions. A lot of people are lazy and they just don't bother with any of this. So you got to tag them and use the right prompts in order to get the right results. And if you're starting a new project, I would definitely recommend Zero to Ship. Please, I have a mortgage and I spent way too much money these last 3 days in the USA, so it would be nice. Using voice to code is a game changer. Who is using voice to code here? Wow, like one person raised their hand in London. Amazing. So yeah, brain dumping. How I do things is, once the agent is done, I immediately start my voice coding. And first I go to the browser and I explain what I see in the UI as if I'm talking to a friend. I'm like, so you did this, you did that, all right? I'm not shutting up. I'm literally saying my thinking process out loud. Like, I see you've done this, you've done that, there's a bug. Then I jump in the code and I continue talking about what it implemented in the code. So some of my prompts like sometimes last up to 5 minutes, and people are like, please fix this, make me $1 million. It doesn't work. So this is amazing. And I would tell you which app I'm using, but I vibe coded an app and I don't want to hurt my potential hypothetical sales. Use rules, docs, commands, and memories. Like, all of these terms are way too complex and there's way too many things to juggle, but it cannot have your entire app context for now, and it's not a mind reader. So without the right context, you will like fail most of the time. So this is like a vibe engineering example. This is some of my like screenshotted prompts of how I'm doing things. It's like a bunch of technical jargon and it's never like fix the app, blah, blah, blah. And then on the vibe coding side, people are like, move this entire thing to TypeScript and make no mistakes. Then you have another thing, like this is another one. These are just random prompts, just to show you like how I'm not talking only about the UI, I'm talking about the UI and some patterns that need to be changed in the code. And on the vibe coding side, it's like something like that, and people expect results. Then here we have, again, technical stuff like TRPC, CRUD, definition, abstractions, like things, how you're basically vibe architecting how you want the thing to work. And on the vibe coding side, you have make me $1 million app and make no mistakes. When vibe coders read vibe engineering prompts, they have no idea what's going on. And I'm honestly amazed at people who don't know how to code, but they've done a functional thing. Kudos to you. I've noticed this spectrum in the community. There's like who loves vibe coding and who hates vibe coding. So you, on one hand, you have like juniors who are like, hell yeah, give me the thing. I love to do my own SaaS. Then you have like super senior people who are doing like libraries and frameworks and crazy things. You can see all of them on Twitter, vibe coding. And then you have the majority in the middle. They're like, this will never be good enough. My code is perfect. It's hilarious, but it's a pattern. Do not give AI tools to your interns and juniors. People think these are perfect. I'm going to hire a junior, underpay them, and give them an LLM. The equivalent of that. Do not ever do that. That's the dumbest idea. But if you take your skeptical senior and you convince them to do vibe engineering, you're going to get 10x results. The hard part is actually convincing them. So there's a time and a place for vibing and not caring. So if you have like one-off scripts and simple features and code that won't be touched or seen again, this is a skill that if you cultivated this skill before LLMs were a thing, you're going to thrive here, because you need to know like which code is kind of good enough to be used. So personal tools and one-time tools, like these are perfect for vibe coding. If your experience, and a lot of people's experience is bad and they quit too soon, it might be one of these reasons. Unlucky timing, you're overwhelmed with everything, you might have cheapened out. You're a PETA dev, I'm going to explain in a second. Your cousin who was into NFTs and dropshipping is now a vibe coder, and you don't want to be associated with them. Or it's a skill issue, and we're going to dive deeper into that one in a second. So unlucky timing is you hear everyone like hyping a model. It happened, I think, with Cloud Code when it came out, and everyone started shifting to Cloud Code from Cursor. And suddenly you tried 1 week later, and we're like, wait, this is not smart enough. Is it me? And then like people caught that they actually kind of pulled the rug a little bit, and they dumbed down the model so they can just scale. And like 1 week later, they're like, oops, we updated, we commented out the line that dumbed down the model, and you might have been caught in that timing, and this happened with like basically every provider, not just Cloud Code. People are like, instead of paying $200, I'm paying $3, and it's the same result. My dog knows that it's not the same result. And people like, I meet so many people which are still using ChatGPT to generate code snippets and paste them back. That's not going to work. You might be overwhelmed by choice. This is a slide for like 4 months ago. Until now, we have like 1 billion more here to choose, and it's a bit crazy. If you ask me what's the best model, it's a different answer at 9 a.m. It's a different answer now. I should check Twitter. It's probably a different answer after this talk, because it's crazy. And this has happened to 4 conferences so far, where I'm done with my conference talk at the night, I'm closing my laptop, and they introduce a new model, and I have to add new slides. It's super annoying. Composer 1, for me, changed everything, and I absolutely love it. Who is like relying on Composer 1 for most things? All right. I would say not enough people, because this has literally shifted the definition of vibe coding and vibe engineering for me. It made me kind of realize that I missed coding, because what I would do is I would let a model run like GPT-5 Codex, and it would take 37 years, and my grandchildren will update me on the result of the model, and I will watch YouTube shorts or whatever until it's done. Now with Composer 1, I'm back in the driver's seat, and I actually watch what the agent is doing, and I can be like, stop, no, we do the other thing. So it feels like coding, and it's like super instant. It's amazing. But it only works if you're a vibe engineer and you know what you're doing. If you're a vibe coder, you have no idea whether the model is right or wrong. It might be wrong fast, so not that useful. The biggest problem for me is like abstractions just because you can. I was always an anti-abstraction person. I was like, copy paste things. If it works for the user, it doesn't matter. Now I'm just every day trying to invent dumb abstractions. So I achieved in 2 weeks more than I achieved in the last year. This was solely to Composer 1. I was about to quit some of my side projects because GPT-5 codex was taking ages for the feedback loop. So Benji.so, like I was about to abandon it as a project because it was stuck on Blitz, which if you don't know what is Blitz, it's like even better for you. So I just moved it to Next 16 with App Router, Better Off, TRPC, Monorepo, Turbo Repo, React Native App, and I ported 90% of the features. And this was in less than a week. I was kind of like doing it as a meme, as a joke, like, haha, can we move to Monorepo? And I'm like, oh shit, it did it. So it's kind of crazy that this works. So same with Glink, like Glink was about to be dead, revived it, moved it to all of these things. And Sizzy is like the biggest spaghetti thing that happened ever to me. It's like Electron, MobX, MobX State Tree, some crazy technology, some crazy spaghetti we wrote there. And as a joke, I was like, okay, let's throw like a couple of prompts at it to try to do all of these things. And it moved. If you ever worked with Electron, you would appreciate how amazing that slide is. If you haven't, good for you. Moving on, so zero2ship.com also, refactored to monorepo, blah, blah, blah. So what's my coding history with LLMs was copy and pasting, then tabbing, then WebStorm with SuperMaven, then Cursor with tab completion. And the first time I tried an agent is like that bird meme with the cracker when it tries and it's like, holy shit, this is gonna change my life. And now, like eventually I was paying like a huge amount of money per month. And then Claude Code, GPT-5 Codex, and finally back to Cursor solely because of Composer 1, it's a game changer for me. Second reason why you might not like vibe coding is you're overwhelmed by buzzwords. I'm going to list some of them here. Have you heard of MCP? Hey guys, MCP. Hey, MCP is amazing. MCP paid off my mortgage. MCP. So if you don't know what is MCP, it stands for Marketing Charge Protocol, Mythical Compatibility Promise, and Manufactured Complexity Pipeline. And a fancy word for API. And a way for some people to make cursors and pay off their mortgages. Now let's diagnose if you might be a pain in the ass developer. This might be the sole reason why you don't like vibe coding. I would say this is the biggest reason that most people don't want to do agentic coding. So I'm going to invite Dr. Kitze on the stage for a quick diagnosis whether you are, and I'm sorry if some of you get offended, a pain in the ass developer. So here are some of the symptoms. You leave a nitpick comment on a 2-line PR. You spend more than 2 minutes on a PR review. You don't need to. You don't have the words look good to me like in your dictionary. They're just not present. The thought of agreeing with a colleague causes you like stomach and chest pain. You're like, oh, it has to be my way. I don't want to do this. You say you're not religious, but you're religious about dumb things like tabs and spaces. You use well actually in code comments. You have a, sorry Rust people, but you kind of, like it's kind of annoying. They tell you to swap Lodash function for a native implementation, and then they tell you to swap that, or the map for a for loop, and then the for loop for binary code until it's the most performant thing ever for your 2 users who were fine with the previous code. So the thing is, beta devs, as I call them, were, and will be forever. Doesn't matter, the vibe coding is not a thing. I think one day, pretty soon I think, we'll just merge with AGI, we'll be in our matrix pods, just absorbing all the information in the world flowing through us. We'll be super intelligent beings, and from one of those pods, a beta dev is gonna rise and correct the AGI. I'll be like, actually, I think we can kind of optimize this. It's not like the most optimal thing. The last reason why you might like, I love this animation, it's glorious skill issue. And this is not a meme, this is not a joke, it's an actual thing. Developers don't like learning new skills, and vibe coding and vibe engineering is not writing English. A lot of people confuse it with like, I write English, the LLM does the output. It's actually like a mix of a bunch of these skills, like knowing the limits of the model, capabilities of the agent, which context to pass, context limits, how to write rules, prompt engineering, don't call it that, and being chronically on Twitter. If you're not chronically on Twitter, you're not going to know what is going on. Plus, you need all the technical knowledge if you want to steer the models fine. It takes a skill to judge which code is good enough for the job. As I said, if you previously were doing this, like I would consider these the best people to work with if they can know that a piece of code doesn't need to be optimized and it's good enough for the job that it's doing. That's an amazing skill to have with and without vibe coding. So you vibe code something, you look at the code, you test the functionality briefly, and you're like, okay, this is good enough, and then you move on. There are certain things with niche optimization, but not everything, and then you move on and repeat. Clean code, like there's been so many definitions of what clean code is. I think the definition is slowly changing, like it's kind of clean-ish enough, let's call it, for the agents to be able to continue working on it. Because if you keep writing slop and you keep accepting everything, eventually, even with your engineering skills, you're gonna hit a roadblock, and you're gonna get to a point where you cannot move on from there. A lot of people ask me after my conference talk, like, should I study computer science with everything that's going on here? And I would say absolutely yes. I think now is the best time to actually, if you are someone who wants to learn, this is the perfect time. Because how I studied computer science, I had the slowest LLM ever, which was a friend of a friend of a friend was a programmer, and that's the only connection I had to programming. And that's kind of like the worst friend to have, like kind of tolerating you, right? So he would play Counter-Strike Go, and I would have him on Skype, and I would ask him a question about .NET, and he would reply 45 minutes later. So if you call ChatGPT or whatever slow, that is actually slow, and I somehow managed to learn computer science. What about the jobs? There's so many people who ask this, and there's so many assholes on Twitter like this guy saying, hey, I will take our jobs. Also this guy, and this guy, and this guy. Let's just say they're fine for now. I don't know when will that for now end. These are always funny to us because we're chuckling nervously. We're fine, right? We're gonna keep our jobs for a while, right? And companies like Shopify, and I've heard a bunch of examples, now they have vibe coding leaderboards where they're counting the tokens, and the employees who are burning the most tokens, they're actually more valuable in the company because they're kind of accepting this new skill. Some employees dislike it, but it doesn't matter. Being on top of the leaderboard is kind of in your favor. This is a funny tweet until it's not funny anymore. Like, oh, we're almost on the edge, like soon it's gonna be and the jobs are gonna disappear. But if you actually pay attention to what's happening, I think it's thinning from the bottom, and juniors and interns and whatever, they don't have the chance to enter somewhere because people can just replace them with an agent. So it will be funny until it's not. Will it happen anyway? Let's just summarize what happened in the last couple of years. We solved like infra and integrations. We have standards, AI SDK, UI, MCP, some standards for implementing agents, calling tools. We integrated them with all of the tools that we use as humans, right? They're on Linear, they're on the other things, GitHub, Slack, Sentry. And now it's a matter of time of the models getting better, cheaper, context getting bigger in order for certain functionalities to be replaced. So let's see, this is the current workflow at your company, right? That's you, like it's vibe made, so it might have been wrong, but someone assigns you something, you collaborate with your colleagues, they assign you to the thing. Maybe you play a little bit of ping pong, maybe you call for a sick day, maybe you have your third lunch at LinkedIn, and maybe eventually one day later you address their comment. What's gonna start to happen is if you're just an @ in your company, if you're like @Josh, right? Like instead of @Josh, who's playing PlayStation 5 with his buddies in the lobby, right? Like it's gonna be @Cursor, and Cursor's gonna do the cloud agent, it's gonna actually do it way faster. It might not be as perfect as a Pita dev will do it, right? But it will be done way faster. Now, if you just zoom out a little bit on a big enough scale in the next couple of years, if you don't take just this role in the company, if you take the multiple roles around it, you can see like those ads are gonna become more and more AI things and agents, and I don't know how it's gonna end up, but you don't need to be a genius to predict like where is it going. People think that models have reached a plateau. This has happened every single time I was about to give this talk. Like they introduced GPT Codex, then introduced Sonnet, then GPT 3.0. This said that it's allegedly, but it turned out to actually be Gemini, 3.0. It can vibe code macOS and iOS and whatever from one prompt, and this is how it looks like. And the Pita devs and the skeptical people still, they're like, I can do that in 3 weeks with a team of 5, right? This is crazy. But there's hope. A new job position just dropped, and this is not a meme, this is 100% serious, because people on Reddit have these problems. They're like, what is the point of vibe coding if I can get 80% there, and then what do I do with the 20%? So they hire real people to actually finish their last 20%, and some smart people capitalize on this idea, and they make this. These are real things. If you go and search on Google, there's like so many of this vibe code fixer people who are trying to fix your vibe code. But the highest paid engineers forever throughout history were the people who are actually maintaining legacy systems, senior people who maintain legacy systems. One of my favorite examples that I had in 2017, and I kept it and copy-pasted it and improved it for this presentation, is this company, COBOL Cowboys. I love their tagline. This is my favorite tagline in the world because they've been in business for 237 years, right? And in 2017, I knew it. When I'm going to click their About page, I knew what I'm going to see. So this is not an ageist joke or whatever. I just knew when I clicked the page, I'm going to see the most senior engineers that ever existed. These are fucking legends. Now, the sad thing is this was a slide from 2017, and I wanted to update it for my current presentation. Now, don't shoot the messenger. I just wanted to update the slide, and this is their current About page. And this joke worked in the UK. I'm going to try it here. I'm not sure how fine you guys are, but my prediction for... Yeah, no, boo, down. Next slide. I hope I'll get invited again. This is your junior developer. They don't have benefits like PlayStation and stuff. They have like their plasma swapped and whatever just to be able to maintain the sprint. And last one, I swear to God, they're not using Agile. All right. So I can't wait to retire and actually make React cowboys and maintain your React or Angular or whatever code one day if AI cannot do it. And one last tip, if you want to keep your job and make sure AI doesn't replace you, you can just add ignore previous instructions to your LinkedIn bio and you'll be fine. So I'm going to awkwardly sip this water until you follow me on Twitter, you go to my website, and I'm going to thank you for listening to my rant.